It's Lisa from Been There, Got Out, and I think we hopefully have figured out the technical issue with our guest today. I'm so sorry that we're starting. There he is. He's there. Yes, John, it's working. It's working. Yay. Okay. So, John, don't worry about being late. I'm inviting you. So just accept the invite and finally we're gonna talk. Yes, there you are.
So sorry. So sorry.
That's okay. So everybody knows this guy is so empathic that he stopped his job to run back to his office so that we could get a connection. And this is so much better. And I feel horrible that you that you left your stakeout to do this.
No problem. Glad to do it. Glad to do it.
Thank you so much. All right. So part of this empathy is like a big reason why you were even referred to us by one of our wonderful clients. I don't know if she's here because there's people coming in now, but probably because I just saw a line of parts come in. So thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And you're our first private investigator that we interviewed, and you're a virgin to Instagram. We said you just though you have a thriving business down in Nashville. You just joined. Yes.
Yeah, I'm on all other platforms except for Instagram, but we changed it today. So
right, good. So you came onto Instagram, you're going right into Instagram Live. So let's get started. So thanks again, and tell us how long you've been in business and what states you cover, and then we'll talk about the services you offer, and then we'll get to some more fun stuff.
Sure, absolutely. We have been in business for approximately 12 years. We cover the whole state of Tennessee, but we also have reciprocal states around us that we can also do business in, such as Florida, Kentucky, Georgia, just to name a few.
And I know that you're able to cross state lines when you're tailing someone.
Correct. If the investigation actually starts locally, we can go basically to any state that they go to. Absolutely.
Wow. Now, can you also leave the country?
We can leave the country, but that's usually something that is usually planned out that we know ahead of time. Obviously, I can't just get on a plane and leave the country.
Right.
But we have done that before. Actually, not the country, but we've gone to other states knowing where, an individual would be. We've done that multiple times over the years. So
yeah. Very, very exciting. All right. So now I know some of this. Why don't you talk about a couple of the services you offer? Like what kinds of things you do as a private investigator?
Absolutely. Well, we do a lot of surveillance. Probably 90% of what we do is surveillance, whether it's child custody matter, infidelity. We do a lot of insurance fraud as well, workers' compensation, FMLA. We do FMLA is just the Family Leave Act. That a lot of employees can take if they need to take care of a loved one, or say they're pregnant and need to, take care of somebody, or they need to be off themselves. Well, a lot of people actually take advantage of that, and when they're supposed to be taking care of a loved one, they're actually at the mall shopping, or they're playing golf, etc. So, basically somebody that's abusing, the system.
All right. So I know we talked about how infidelity seems to be a really, really big one. What are the signs that somebody would have that they think that a partner is cheating, and why they would find you to follow them?
Sure. Well, the first thing that comes to mind, I think, just from talking to our clients, is a secretive phone use all the time. They're when they're around their spouse, they're on the phone talking or texting, but they're never talking or texting to their spouse. So that's probably the number one thing. Changing appearances, their appearance. Maybe they're not used to working out every day, but now they're working out 3 or 4 times a week.
That was my
yeah, absolutely. Excuse me. Also, buying different types of clothes. Instead of wearing what they're normally used to wearing, now they're kind of trying to step their game up a little bit, I guess, just trying to buy something a little bit more fashionable. That Another thing is picking fights with your spouse. so you can get out of the house. That's a big one. Yeah, absolutely. Um, Blaming everything on your spouse, you know, uh, again, it goes back to, fights and just enough to, to get out of the house for a little while. Working late, you know, uh, unexplained, expenses, out of your account. So
Hmm.
these are the types of things that our clients tell us that's going on, uh, but I think the biggest one is absolutely the glued to the phone, being on the phone all the time, talking, texting, but they're never talking or texting to their spouse, and they do it right in front of them. And so I think that's the biggest thing. Sleeping with your phone, taking it everywhere, literally sleeping with it uh, in the bed. So that's a big sign.
I thought you were using that as a metaphor, but you're being serious. Like they're actually sleeping with the phone in the bed. All right, someone had asked to clarify the question. I had asked John, what are some signs of cheating that would cause somebody to hire a private investigator? All right, and now I remember also when we talked the other day, you had a very interesting statistic regarding cheating, which surprised us. Do you remember that?
Oh, well, most of my clients nowadays are actually men. So when it comes to infidelity, so we do more surveillance on women than we do men. Now it's probably 60-40. So I mean, there's obviously a lot of men that still commit infidelity, but I would say most of our clients are men at this day and time.
So a lot of them, it's their wives that are cheating, and that's probably a big surprise because on social media you think that it's almost only men that are the cheaters, but in real life it's not.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, really, really interesting. Okay, so now, like I said a couple of times as we were trying to get on, that one of the reasons that you came so highly recommended is you have this quality that most people in this field and probably in a lot of fields don't have, and that's empathy. So why do you think empathy is so important when you're dealing with clients?
Well, if you don't have empathy, Lisa, um, as a private investigator, you're not going to be in business, that long, because when people come into my office and they sit here, they're distraught. They need answers, you know, uh, and basically have to sit here and try to talk them off the ledge. Sometimes, I mean, they are, they're hurt, and most of the time when I speak to somebody, they normally don't tell their friends and family because they're embarrassed about it, or whatever, but most of the time nobody knows about this except me. And so you have to be empathetic when you're talking to your clients, um, or you just won't be in business long. So
Yeah,
yeah.
well, it's a great quality. I mean, and we talked a little bit about how you're not a counselor, but you kind of are a counselor.
Well, there again, that kind of relates to empathy as well. When people come in here, they're telling me their situation and what they're going through, and I have to counsel them. I'm not a counselor, but I am a counselor. I sit here and we go through their situation and what's going on from top to bottom. I try to understand what's going on in their life, and most of it is infidelity or it's a child custody matter, and they are literally on the brink of having a nervous breakdown. So I have to sit here and talk them through their situation. And again, it goes back to empathy. Empathy is feeling with them. You got to feel with them. You got to get in the boat with them, and and just be there for them. You have to relate to them, and you have to, like I said, if you get in the boat with them and you understand what's going on, and just again have that empathy for them, that's where it's at, and that's a big part of what we do, and
Yeah,
obviously it builds trust too. So
yeah,
I
and go ahead, go ahead.
well, I try to uh, treat our clients like they're my own family. And that's how I try to think about it. If my family was going through this type of situation, how I would talk to them. And I try to do the same for every single one of our clients, every single one of them.
Yeah, you know, and I was going to say you and Chris and I are in completely different fields, but we are exactly on the same page as you with empathy, leading with empathy, and certainly for us having been through so much, you know, our clients are dealing with high conflict relationships and divorce and co-parenting and custody situations, but exactly what you're saying, like it does, there's a lot of intimacy involved, there's a lot of trust involved, there's a lot where, like you said, they're embarrassed to tell anyone about it because people don't really understand and people can be very judgmental. And they can also blame the person and say, well, you know, if you were a better partner, this might not have happened. So it's better to go to somebody outside of that. I'm sure you're familiar with that too with your clients.
Yeah, well, exactly. And I mean, we do the same thing you do basically. And as far as that's concerned, and a lot of people they just don't want to, you know, they just don't tell people about it. So again, it just goes back to us having to be there for our clients and just being empathetic all the way through and understanding, because, you know, a lot of times people they don't care about your problems. They have problems of their own. So
Right.
they don't really care about it. They may, you know, they may ask you. I mean, how many times do you hear people say, hey, how are you doing today? What do you say? Doing
Good.
great. Right. But are you really? You
Yeah.
see the same thing. So people don't want to hear your problems. So,
Right.
but with this type of industry that I'm in, you have to, you know, and you have to sit down, you have to work through this with your clients. And again, if you don't, you just can't, you know, be in business for longevity, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm thinking also another thing we didn't even mention was that I'm sure there's a lot of shame associated with being in this situation and that you're helping walk them off the ledge too, talk them off the ledge. That's what we call it. Okay. So the other thing you mentioned before is that you help, go ahead.
So I had, you know, you talk about shame.
Mhm.
Literally just had somebody in my office yesterday that said this to me, that, you know, they need our services. Okay. We're going to move forward with helping this individual. But she said something to me that I thought was kind of profound, just something that made me think. And she said, she says, if we don't get any evidence, I'm going to feel dirty. I'm going to feel bad about
Mhm.
hiring your company to follow this person around. And, you know, I had to have a talk with her. And, you know, she's been having this gut feeling for a while now. And I had to just let her, it's okay to do that, because you need peace of mind. You need answers. You need to know how you need to move forward. And the only way to do that is to put a camera on somebody and figure out, you know, and see what they're doing on a daily basis. You don't need to feel bad about it. Does that make sense? Don't feel bad about this.
Absolutely.
Have a gut feeling, because when somebody comes through these doors, they've had a gut feeling for a while. Does that make sense? So, because
Absolutely.
I just said a year, so it's been over a year. This lady or this individual has just, you know, waited and waited. And now she's at a point where we have to do something. She needs to do something about it. And so anyway, I thought I'd throw that to you.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if it's me. Your camera is starting to fade a little. Do you notice that, Chris, on your screen? Yeah. I think it's starting to reload. Can you still hear me, John? So this has been the day of tech glitches with our guest, John from Rhino Surveillance. So this is going to be part 5, which is really part 2 of our interview. We just got started and talked a little bit so far about cheating. There he is. How to tell if a partner is cheating, why empathy is so important as a private investigator. So just accept the invite and we'll get you back in here. Good.
Is it good?
Okay, keep going. Okay. So I had just said right when you bopped out, I said, well, at least we finished the question. So we'll
Yeah.
start fresh with a new one. So we
All right.
talked a little bit about, you know, the emotional, like the emotions surrounding cases like this when clients approach you and how important it is to sort of, you know, talk them off the ledge.
Yeah.
And we talked about infidelity. Let's talk about child custody. How can you help someone going through a child custody situation or battle?
Sure, sure. And we do just as much child custody as we do infidelity. And it's very important, especially in our state. So we help, so let's back up. So we normally start with an attorney with that. Okay. An attorney will reach out to us, or the actual client will reach out to us. And they usually have a parenting plan in place. Okay. So I try to look at the parenting plan and see uh, what that says. And that's kind of what we go off of. Okay. And normally, if you have a parenting plan in place, you're already separated. Okay. Or divorced. Okay. And so each spouse has to abide by a certain plan when they have children. Okay. And most of what we do with child custody stuff that helps us in court or helps our clients in court is to show that they are unfit. That's going to be the word, unfit, or they're breaking the parenting plan that's in place. So for example, we do a lot of custody cases where the uh, spouse cannot have alcohol 12 hours before they get the children, or 12 hours um, after they have the children, for whatever reason. It may be that, or they can't smoke in the car because little Johnny has asthma. So you can't smoke in the car when you have the kids. You can't have overnight guests, okay, while you have the children. Um, these are the types of things that we try to obtain for our clients, um, to help them in court. Does it make sense?
Yeah, yeah, of course. So there's evidence that they're breaking the parenting plan, and then the person can go back and try and get a modification. And it
That
also harms the other parent's credibility in court.
that is correct. And
Right.
what I like to tell clients is, one time is not good enough. You have to show a pattern here. So if a parent is, I'm just making this up now, but it's something that we do. If a parent wants more time with their children, okay, but when they have the children, they're going out to bars and they're dumping the kids off with grandma and grandpa. Well, that's something that we need to get 3 or 4 times, show consistency, and then that's when our clients will file a motion, go back to court, and like you said, get it modified. So those are the things that we do to help our clients, because even though they know what's going on, because the kids come back and say, "Hey, I spent all the whole time with grandma." Well, we have to have that on video. We have to have proof of that, and that's where we come in to try to help our clients. I mean, there's so many ways that we can help people with child custody matters, but those are just a few.
Yeah, and again, there's so many parallels with what you're describing with this, again, different type of business, but with our clients, we help them with presenting in court using targeted documentation, and often they'll say, "Oh, but this person did this terrible thing once," and we just say it doesn't. Once is probably not going to be enough unless it's extreme. It has to show. We have to show patterns of behavior over time. So same thing. You're basically saying exactly what we always tell them to.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
absolutely.
interesting.
Well,
Okay, and then go ahead.
what you don't do is you go into court, they see us, and we got it one time, and the judge slaps them on the hand, say, "Hey, don't do that again." Well,
Mhm.
we can't follow them now, because now they're heightened up. They're more than likely not gonna do it again for at least a
Yeah,
while.
I like that term heightened up. So that means now they know that they're being watched, so they behave better. So you don't want to do that.
No, no, ma'am.
Okay. And then another thing we talked about were background checks and how that could be helpful with custody situations.
Yeah, background checks are good, for, well, I mentioned the overnight stays. let's say we're working a case and the the spouse has an overnight guest. Well, we'll go there late at night. Most of the time, the vehicle is going to be out in the driveway. We'll obtain the license plate and we'll run a background check to see who we're dealing with. And we have we've uncovered a lot of different things over the years with background checks. And just, you know, we've ran plates that these guys come back and they're pedophiles, you know, or they've got 3 or 4 DUIs, you know, or, you know, they're criminals, you know, and they got the, you know, the children around this person, you know, during their parenting time. And that absolutely can get your kids taken away, you know.
Wow. Wow. All right. And now, with getting the kids taken away or anything, do you ever yourself testify in court?
Yes. We absolutely testify in court. I don't know how many times a year, but definitely several times a year, if they don't get settled.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, we also talked about a term which I didn't realize was also used with pornography, the money shot. Tell me what the money shot is in your field of business.
Well, yeah. In our business, the money shot is obviously the video that's just damning and that you just can't get out of. And for example, in an infidelity case, obviously, if you catch, you know, catch them kissing, you know, kissing the paramour, that's obviously a money shot. Holding hands, anything intimate is going to be a money shot, because just because two are together, the opposite sex, and they're having lunch, that's not enough to do it. You know, you have to get the money shot, which is going to be, you know, what I just said, you know, something along those lines. Okay. An overnight stay, that's good enough. You know, if an overnight stay, it would definitely do it. But there again, just something that's intimate.
So isn't it enough, like when you said if you're trying to catch someone doing an overnight stay, if you see the car parked outside the house for the night, is that enough proof usually? Something like that?
Consistently, it would be enough. Yes. Obviously, we're not going to catch anything in the act,
Right.
nor do we have to.
Right.
But that that would absolutely help in court. But you
Yeah.
need to
Okay.
get times, you know, just to show the consistency of it. And not only that, but we also wait until the next morning or later that evening to see if they come out. But most of the time it's going to be early in the morning. So we're already back on surveillance and we watch them come out, you know, at that time. So it's very helpful. Yeah.
Yeah. So now we talked about money shots, but we also talked about another term that I like called the deer in the headlights. What's
Right,
the
right.
deer in the headlights?
Well, the deer in the headlights usually happens when we're in court. And this is, we can use infidelity again, you know, as our example. And by the way, when we testify in court, we are usually the last ones to go. And what I mean by we're the last ones to testify, because what our side's trying to do is catch uh, the subject in a lie. Okay. And so they'll have several questions on the stand and, you know, have you done this or that? Or, you know, do you have is there a paramour in your life right now, you know, etc. And so, of course, 100% of the time, it's going to be a lie and they'll deny it. 1% of the time, they're going to deny it. Yes. I've never had anybody admit it. So, especially in court. Right. So then they bring me in at the very last minute to testify, and they'll ask me, you know, several questions. And then, of course, we get down to the video, which will actually show the video in court, along with a written report that we give to the judge. And obviously, our client has one, and then opposing counsel will have one as well. And we show the video in court. And so the deer in headlights is going to be, when their jaw drops and it's basically, you got me type thing. So
Yeah, I bet that's very, very satisfying.
it is satisfying because my clients are satisfied, and uh, our services are, they're not cheap, and it you got to have means to do it, and it's very satisfying for the clients, but also for us to be able to help them out in this type of situation.
Yeah. Now we also we talked a little bit about how, well, first let's talk about some common reactions your clients have, but then we also talked about how a burden is lifted off them. So can you get into just common reactions, but especially about how your services help lift a burden that many of your clients have when they first meet you?
Sure. So when a burden is lifted off someone, I'll give you an example of it here in a second. But when people sit across from me and they tell me their situation, they have a heavy weight on them. Okay, they're on the verge of having a nervous breakdown. They're 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 upset about the situation and the situation that they're in, and this is just a bad time for them. But when our clients have that gut feeling that I told you about, that does not go away until you have answers. So whether you wait to hire us, you wait a year or you wait 6 months or whatever the time frame is, that burden it's gonna be heavy until you get answers. So I'll give you a real scenario that happened. It's already been to court, and so I can talk to you about this. I won't name names, but I had the one that comes to mind right now is I had a client come in here, a female came in. She'd been married for 28 years, I believe, and she had that gut feeling. And she's sitting in my office and she's crying profusely, just cannot stop, and just she was just so worried about that her husband was possibly cheating on her, but she had no proof, and she wasn't going to go follow him around, and when she'd question her husband about it, he would deny it, and this went on for a long period of time. Okay, and so finally she got to the point where she wanted to hire us for our services, and uh, to make a longer story short, we followed this guy for like 3 or 4 days, and he absolutely clean, didn't do anything. I mean, and did everything he said that he was going to do. And I was updating the client every day, and she was like, "Stay on it, stay on. Let's just keep going." And so anyway, that fourth or fifth day, we picked him up um, on the weekend, and we followed him uh, down to Nashville, and he went into a swingers club of all places. And so um, before we went in uh, to the club just to verify everything, I stayed out in the car, and I actually called the client to tell her what was going on. And she broke down in tears and she was crying. But before I actually got out of the vehicle and you know finished the surveillance there, she told me that she felt so much better, that she knew something, and that burden that we're talking about is lifted, because now she, even though it hurts her at that time, she knows now that things were right. Her gut feeling was right, that there was something going on. And that's the best way I can explain the burden being lifted off of you. You have that burden on you and that weight on you until you can find, so you can get those answers. You need to know, uh, is he cheating on me, or is he not cheating on me, he or she? You got to have those answers. But until you have them, that burden stays where it's at. So anyway, even though she was hurt, she told me that she felt so much better before I even went in. She told me that she felt so much better because now she has direction. Now she knows what she needs to do from here. And they did get a divorce shortly thereafter. So
Yeah.
obviously I didn't stay in that place too long. You know, I was only in there fairly quick, but I will tell you that this particular individual had something on his shirt that said that he was a 10-year member. So he had been doing it for a long
Just
time.
waiting.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
anyway, that's the best thing I can, that's the easiest way for me to tell you, you know, or answer that question for you about having that burden that just is lifted off of you. It will stay with you until you get answers. Okay. And
And I think,
we've helped people, so many people over the years to get those answers and lift that burden off of them. It just takes time, you know.
yeah, I think part of that burden too is the feeling of questioning yourself, because I'm sure you know as well as we do that so many of these relationships involve gaslighting and making someone question their gut instinct and saying, no, you're just being too jealous, you're just paranoid, you're just suspicious, like to the victim. And the victim knows, they know, you can feel it in your gut, like you know the other person's lying. And so when you relieve this burden, you also remind a victim or a person in this situation that they were right the whole time, so they can start to trust themselves again. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. And that goes on with a lot of my clients. And yeah, until we, I guess they do feel gaslighted until they have answers. And I think once we get those answers for them, you know, that's how they feel. And it's unfortunate. You know how your clients feel when they're in this situation. And so, you
My clients and myself, definitely,
know, yeah,
definitely.
yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about what drew you to this line of work and how your approach might be different from others who are private investigators.
Well, I was drawn to this because one of my best friends growing up was a private investigator. So I honestly in college I had just rode around with him a couple of times, and it kind of got in my blood. And of course, I didn't do anything about it for years. You know, probably 15, 16 years later is when I actually, you know, got it. But it had gotten in my blood years and years ago, but I was doing other things at the time. So that's how I got started with um, the second part of the question. Like, how did you say, how are we different? Is that what you said?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So we're, again, I guess it really goes back to being empathetic, you know, and the empathy. I think that's how we're different. I mean, I know a lot of other investigators, you know, across the United States, and not all of them operate like that. You know, a lot of it's just business. You know, we're here to try to get you the evidence that you need, and that's it. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. We just try to take it another step because we feel that it's relevant, and it's something that we need to do, you know, to help somebody when they're down like this. So I think that's the biggest thing, is that we again, we jump in the boat with them, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. Now, we've gotten like a bunch of questions. Someone had said, what do you personally get out of your work as a private investigator? I mean, I'm thinking, again, something we have in common is just that feeling like people are so grateful for your services because you help them feel better. You help them be able to have direction and move forward with their lives. Is there any other thing that you feel like you get out of this, why you really enjoy it?
No, I think we've covered it, but I mean, I just have passion for it. That's why I do what I do. Okay. I don't, if I don't have passion for something, I don't do it. And that's why I do it. And it's to help these clients and help these people through this trying time that they have. And it gives me a lot of satisfaction to help them, especially these child custody cases. It's very important to try to get these kids with the right parent, and that means a lot to me.
Yeah, I just thought of something that I didn't think about writing down as a question, but that I know we talked about the other day. And that's something that like a unique ability that you also bring to your career, something that you've had since you were little. Do you remember us talking about that? It's
I
like a
don't
sense,
know.
like didn't you say you had a sense, like you just had this sense that you'd get a feeling about something?
Well, I feel like I've got a sixth sense when I'm out working. I think I feel like I've always kind of had that, when I'm out in the field, and I can just kind of not necessarily see the future, but I can kind of anticipate something, when I'm out there. Is that what I had talked to you about? I'm not sure. You may have to. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep, that's it. That little sixth sense. All right, we
Yeah.
just got another couple other questions about like what your qualifications are, like how you became a private investigator, how someone could become a private investigator.
Well, first off, you got to find a company that'll take a chance on you, because you have to be licensed by the state. I've got multiple licenses out there just because I own Rhino Surveillance. But to be an investigator, you have to reach out to the state, and you have to just go through. Obviously each state is different, but you have to kind of go through the protocol that they have and get licensed here in the state of Tennessee. Once you get your license, you have to have a company that's willing to work with you, because you need a place where you can hang your license under so that you can work and actually get trained. And that's where the being a PI really comes in, not just getting your license, but the training, could take 6 months to a year to do. So nobody wants a new PI out there on their own, not knowing what they're
Mhm.
doing. It takes time,
Yeah,
a lot
that's
of training.
interesting. So like in the field, training is absolutely required. You can't just go get a license and then open up your own business. You have to be with somebody else, like a mentor.
Correct. Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
interesting. Somebody else asked if you ever do asset searches and how your services are different from like a forensic accountant.
We do asset searches, and as far as a forensic accountant, I don't know what the difference is, on that. But I know I have a guy that works for us. He's been with us. Matter of fact, he's been an investigator for about 20 years, and he does one of the best jobs of any private investigator I've ever seen when it comes to asset searches and background research. Just unbelievable work. And but as far as comparing the two, I can't give you an answer on that.
Okay. All right. Now, let's talk a little bit how COVID affected your business. How did it
Well,
affect investigation?
well, COVID was, man, it was weird times, but I will tell you that our business probably shot up about 30%, during COVID.
Hmm.
And a lot of it was due to, well, some of it was infidelity. It led to divorces because, for, a number of reasons. Number one, the spouses are home together a lot more than they were used to being, because you get up in the morning, you both go your separate ways. You go to work and you come back home, you eat, you know, bathe the kids, and you go to bed. Well, when everybody started working at home, that's where it all started, and the reason I know this is because this is what clients are telling me, and they're just home at more, you're working at home more, but it's also a more stressful environment, at the time too, because now both are working at home, and then the kids are at home as well. And just being at home all day and trying to do what, trying to work and, take care of the kids and learning from home, et cetera. It just, if your marriage was cracked, it absolutely got deepened, during that time. And that's
Yeah,
so
makes
yeah,
sense.
fortunate, but there again, usually the marriages were on on the verge anyway, and so COVID absolutely didn't help. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, yeah. Pushed a lot of people over the edge with that.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, so also, let's talk about how a client can ruin their own case.
Oh, how much time do we have? No, I'm kidding. Well, that's been a big deal over the years with us, with clients coming in, and and I tell them before they leave my office, you've got to stay quiet. You can't change you got to have a poker face, basically,
Mm-hmm.
because after they hire us, then they're uh, they're antsy, you know, they're antsy for answers. They're antsy just in general. And sometimes they try to do their digging on their own.
Mm-hmm.
And, and I tell them, I said, we will stop the case uh, if you try to do this on your own, because basically it puts us in danger to some degree. So let's say we're working an infidelity case, and I need his, that heightened awareness that we talked about. I need that down. I need his guard or her guard completely down. And so if you're at home, okay, and you're saying, hey, where are you going tonight? Or who you texting? Who you calling? Who you talking to? Why are you in the bathroom talking? You start doing that type of thing, it's going to heighten them up. So I
Mm-hmm.
need you quiet. I don't need, you can't be talking or discussing these things with them while we're trying to work the case, because if they get heightened up and they see that we're following them, obviously it's going to put us in a situation that we don't want to be in. So we need their guard to be completely down. So we have, I stress that so much with our clients, to just, you know, um, have a poker face, or just play along with it until.
Yeah, and that's again another parallel with what we do is when somebody's trying to leave a toxic relationship, we say you have to lay low and you have to stay quiet and act like everything's as normal. Don't ever hint that you're going to leave, because then you're putting yourself in extreme danger. You have to do all your safety planning, but don't ever start telling, what your plans are.
Absolutely, absolutely, it's the same thing. So.
Mhm. Yeah. Okay. So now let's talk about if someone's looking for a private investigator, like if they can't get you, and we'll go into like how they can get you in a couple of minutes, but what are the kinds of things they should look for or ask to know if it's a good fit? Like, how do you know if someone's good?
Well, the first thing I would tell anyone that's looking for one is to just get online, and Google, and look at their Google reviews. That's the first
Mhm.
thing to do. The thing would be to ask for their license. Make sure that they are licensed by the state of Tennessee, or where we're at, or whatever state that you're in. Those are the two things that I would ask right off the bat. Um, you can um, you can ask them how long they've been in business. Obviously that's another thing. But pretty much just get online and check them out that way. You can also call the state, and they will let you know too if they're licensed or not in that state, and if it's current and up to date.
Mhm. But what about like, so you've got empathy and all this other, like, how would somebody be able to sense that in when they're looking for a private investigator?
Well, um, you when you're talking, like when I talk to someone, I try to ask a lot of questions that's about them, not just about me and my company. That's what I put all the focus on them. I want to take all and to discuss their matter. Not even talking about money, just talking, about their situation. That's what I would look for, when you're talking to someone. If you sense that they're talking about things that they're going to do on your case that might be illegal, like putting a tracker under their car, when they know it's illegal, that's a big red flag. and I would run at that. So just make sure everything's above board. When you talk to an investigator, you can kind of get a sense of what they're more into. Is it more about the money? Is it more about you and your case?
Yeah, that's great. Like seeing how good a listener they are. I think that's what you seem to be saying. Somebody asked, does it help if they're former law enforcement?
And to be honest with you, I don't really, I don't really hire. Well, I have hired one guy that was law enforcement. He's actually still with us, working part time. But I normally don't hire people that are in law enforcement because they don't do what we do. You know, they're overt. You know, they're out in the open, and you know, we're covert. So you know, it's just totally different. So I'm not saying there's not a couple of parallels there. There are, but I would much rather work with someone that's green behind the ears, and trained the way we want them to be trained, opposed to having somebody that's in law enforcement.
Yeah, yeah, interesting. And of course, under the radar. All right. So, is there anything else you want to say? I know we've taken up all this time, and how can people find you?
Well, I guess they can find me on Instagram now. So,
Now they can.
well, you can obviously find us on LinkedIn. You can find us on Facebook. You know, we've got a page on both, a personal page on LinkedIn. We do have a LinkedIn Rhino page that it will be available here in the next couple of weeks, that we're working on. Obviously, you can go to our website and get a hold of us at rhinosurveillance.com. You can email me personally at John, Jon, at rhinosurveillance.com. And you can also reach out to us via phone if needed at 615-424-0952.
Great. All right. Well, thank you so much, John. I'm thrilled that we got to figure this out and got this whole interview in.
Absolutely.
Thank you for your
Again,
time taking off work to do this.
absolutely. I apologize for at the beginning and how we couldn't get connected right, but glad to do it. If you guys ever need anything else, give me a call. Okay.
We will. Yeah,
Thank you.
same. All right.
right.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.